How's everybody doing? Part 7 of Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I don't know where to begin. I've I've done 6 parts. Here we are at part 7 because of the bat coin. Just to recap, um, and what do I mean by bat coin? So the Samoan bat coin came out, and when I Googled Samoa bat coin quarter, there it is. And let me see what you see. Okay, so, and when I bring the coin up for you, a little bit bigger, let's see how that shows up for you on camera. Back it up a little bit. And there's 2 of them. Interesting. Because, my 2 Trump theory about the clone that they showed us in the movie The Prestige, that Trump will be assassinated, but it'll be a clone because of the deadly wound that heals. Um, so up comes this bat coin, and I'm going to go over. I'm going to do a recap. Somebody did a 22-minute video on the symbolic meaning of the Dark Knight Rises. Perfect. They told you exactly what I've told you in their own language, and we're going to go over that. Let's remember that Trump Tower has 5 multiple addresses: 721 through 725, that perfectly match, just as a coinkydink, the little horn of Daniel 7, 21 through 25. I beheld the same horn. This is the little horn of Daniel 7 that happens to match Trump's 5 multiple addresses at his tower. The penthouse made of gold that has the paintings of Apollo and Aurora and the fallen angel having sex with the human woman, straight out of Genesis 6. So, and his penthouse was used in the movie The Devil's Advocate. So, and Back to the Future 2 had Donald Trump as Biff. They admitted, the creators, the producers, the directors, the writers, they admitted that they based the character off of Donald Trump in Back to the Future 2. So you've got to watch all 6 parts. I really, really detail all of this for you. So the same horn made war with the saints. This is the Antichrist. And then it ends at 25. Shall wear out the saints. So, and you got to read 21 through 25. But remember, Trump's motto is "Make America Great Again." And throughout Daniel 7's little horn descriptions, there's 3 other verses besides the 21 through 25 that detail wearing out the saints like the Antichrist. And they all say, eyes like a man, a mouth speaking great things. Make America great again, speaking great things. He always says things in a very bravos, is that a word? What are these words my brain's trying to say, because I'm not a very intelligent person? Bravos, does that come from the word bravado? He speaks all. That's why his base loves him. And you got to remember something. I'm never personally hating on people that love him, because they've been handed over to it. That's why they do what they do with predictive programming. They know God has already assured them that he's got 99, Satan's got 99% of the world. And remember, Satan is simply an agent of God. He is a created being born with a glitch, born to fall, born to fail. Because you see, God knew us, the saints, at the foundation of the world, which means Adam and Eve was going to fall. They were born into a fallen earth. Because I believe that once Satan fell, it was told to me once that Satan fell between Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. Like after verse 1, before verse 2, Satan had fallen. So everything on the earth was corrupted. Because when Adam and Eve were in the garden, who was there? Satan. So Adam was born corrupted because he was born into a corrupted earth. Everything was meant to be. Satan has no more power on this earth than God allows him. And in Isaiah 46:10, write this down. In Isaiah 46:10, go ahead and hit pause. Get your pen and paper. In Isaiah 46:10, God's already declared the end from the beginning. And I teach that all throughout my Bible studies. He knew his sheep at the foundation of the world. Sheep are born lost. And then the shepherd finds them. He calls them. Goats are born goats. Read Romans 9:11 through 24. It's all described. The fairness of it. So, I'm not hating on anybody. I just don't know who the sheep are. I don't know who the lost sheep are. My job is just to preach the gospel to every creature, to be hated for it by all the goats, all the world, and maybe the Lord will use me as a tool to pull lost sheep to be found. Because God does it through his Holy Spirit. It's not me doing it. I don't have any power over anybody's salvation. I had somebody going, well, you're driving people away from being saved with that false doctrine you're teaching of election and predestination. I'm like, really? I have power over a man to be saved or not? When Jesus says, I lose not one of my sheep? No. See, because of Virginia and Maryland, which is Virgin Maryland, in the late 1800s, election and predestination quit being taught in this country. And they started teaching the Catholic Jesus that loves everybody. And they were able to use the falsely translated John 3:16, and that's why these false churches use that Bible verse. Day one, when they open the doors. Just claim Jesus and you're good. You're good to go. It's Antichrist doctrine. When we know in John 3:16, for God so loved, cosmos in the Greek, the first definition is the correct one. Remember, half Catholics wrote the King James. King James is not the perfect version. And I explain in one of my Bible studies, search for it, it's pretty recent, how God preserved his word. His word is preserved through his sheep, through his church, through his truth. We use a corrupted text to teach the truth. We just teach where the mistakes are. Goats won't understand it. Lost sheep will. So, I digress. Daniel 7, verse 8, the little horn, my mouth speaking great things. Now, why do I say the little horn is trump? I come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. Speaking of the Jews, the Pharisees. And where is Trump accepted today? He's on the temple coin. They've renamed the Golan Heights Trump Heights. The Antichrist declares himself to be God standing in the holy place over there. We no longer have to protect that land over there. That's all theater. All the billions we've been spending to, quote unquote, protect Israel. Yeah, if you read Galatians, and that all goes back to these false churches, because the club members run your churches. If a preacher started telling the truth like I'm doing, he'd be thrown out immediately. They'll go find another one that'll preach their faults. That's why they all celebrate the Christ Mass at all these so-called Protestant churches. The Christ Mass is Catholic. Easter is Catholic. They're all pagan. I digress. I come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If one shall come in his own name. Now, why do you think Jesus said if? Do you think he wasn't sure it would happen? If one shall come in his own name, him you will receive. And yes, all of these evangelical fake Christians love Donald Trump. He's going to make America great. America's God's country. Yeah, America is the land of the goddess. Sitting in between Virgin Mary Land, Virginia, and Maryland is the city-state that has the obelisk facing the dome. The Washington Monument facing the Capitol. It's Illuminati symbolism, and they got the same thing at the Vatican. Their obelisk at the Vatican is from Egypt, transported over to the Vatican, facing the dome. It's the lost penis of Osiris. And yes, you got a pyramid on the back of your dollar bill. Quit telling me this is God's country. You QAnon fans, you got to come out of that. QAnon is nothing more than artificial intelligence, the ghost in the machine. Watch my video on that. It's almost 2 hours. The Police, Sting, the Police in 1981, they did an album called Ghost in the Machine. And don't forget, they had a song called Every Breath You Take, Every Move You Make, I'll Be Watching You. Which is what this new technology is going to be all about, with surveillance. I digress. I come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not, but if one comes in his own name, him you will receive. Okay? Trump is here in his own name. A trump is a horn. Remember the Bible verse? At the last trump, we will all be changed. Yeah. Yeah, so in the King James, a trump is a horn, and a horn is a trump. Or trumpet. Trump, trumpet. Trumpet, horn. Trump, horn. The little horn is the little trump of Daniel. He's here in his own name. And that fulfills a prophecy, but to fill the 666 prophecy, before his name was Trump, the family name was Drumpf. D-R-U-M-P-F. D-R-U-M-P-F. Don Drumpf comes to 666 in English Gematria. And QAnon uses Gematria because they're giving you hints, not about the deep state. It's really the fact that Gematria is real in determining that Trump is the Antichrist. So you have to take everything you see that they use to deceive the goats, like movies and all type of predictive programming, which is lesser magic. The sheep use it through the Holy Spirit. Because, see, they're getting all type of demonic powers when they do predictive programming, this lesser magic. And that's what them showing you that Donald Trump is Bruce Wayne, the billionaire of Gotham, the billionaire of New York. He's going to save Gotham. Trump's going to save the children underneath the, it's all a parallel. Very deep. This is beyond deep. But anyway, the little horn, the little Trump's mouth speaking great things. Make America. Excuse me. I took a little caffeine pill. My T-Max from my West Palm Beach doctor. That's good stuff. Go down to 11. Behold, I beheld the voice of the great words which the horn spake. The great words. Make America great again. What's that word again? Bravos. His whole demeanor is very alpha male. That's why everybody's so attracted to him. He is the man. because he speaks great things. But really, he's the man because people are handed over to him through. If you're a goat, you're going to be. Now, there are some lost sheep, I believe, also handed over that will come out of him. Let's hope. Well, I'm sure of it. Go down to verse 20. Even of that horn, even of that trump that had eyes and a mouth that spoke very great things. 3 times. The little horn of Daniel 7, it speaks of his mouth speaking great things. Folks, Trump's motto has the word great in it. Forget about the way he acts, or he just pops off and says something like, lock her up. Nothing that he ever says is halfway. It's always great. And then, of course, that moves into 21 through 25, which matches Trump Tower's addresses. 5 multiple addresses of Horn Tower or Trump Tower. Matches the little horn of Daniel 7's wearing out the saints' Antichrist passages. So, I hope that helps you. Now, the Antichrist receives a deadly wound, but did live, which they show you in these Batman trilogies. And then, in the movie The Prestige, which has the exact same director and actors. It's got Michael Caine in it. It's got Christian Bale. Get it? Bale on Christianity. Christian Bale. His deadly wound was healed, and all wondered after the beast. This will be when he arrives at this newly built temple, which I've already shown you on Mike Pompeo overlooking this newly built, soon to be built, third temple. Again, the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. It will be a clone. That's what they showed you in the movie The Prestige. Tesla in that movie simply represents magic. And one thing I forgot to look up for y'all. Donald Trump's connection to Tesla. The mystery of Nikola Tesla. Missing 5. John G. Trump. Trump has a strange connection to Nikola Tesla's deadly President Trump. Yeah, that's on the businessinsider.com. Donald Trump's nuclear uncle. So, time traveler Trump. He's not really a time traveler, obviously, because that's not biblical. Nikola Tesla, Donald Trump connection. So, Tesla, folks, represents science. And it's the science that the fallen angels, it's fallen angel technology, which the fallen angels have helped man create the computer, so Satan could reside in the computer. You know, if you build it, they will come. That movie. Yeah, if you build a computer, if you build CERN, if you build the ghost, the machine, the ghost can come into the machine. So that's what the new technology is going to be about. So anytime you hear Tesla, that's just fallen angel technology. That's a code word for fallen angel technology. Just like QAnon has these code words, which are to mislead. I will give you the real code words. When Trump came out and said, Space Force, space, anytime you hear space, that's talking about the computer, the ghost in the machine, the coming 5G technology. Trump signed the bill, 5G and beyond, and of course all the Trump QAnon people are like, well, he's, his technology is going to be safe and it's going to be blah, 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 blah. They're down a path, and hopefully they'll come out of it. Because they mean well. We know they mean well. They're trying. They're handed over. Then if the Lord doesn't unlock it, they'll stay handed over. The Lord had to unlock me, a lost sheep, from astrology, the Catholic Church, all of it. I didn't do it with my own free will. Absolutely not. So when Trump said Space Force, we're going to open up a space, he's talking about we're going to open up the ability through the 5G technology for the fallen angels to come into this world. That's what that code was. Um, I can get rid of that. So the deadly wound is also anyway in Revelation 13:12. I think we showed you in 13:3, and it's in 13:14 that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. In the Prestige, they showed you that it was a clone that got killed. The clones were constantly being killed, actually, in that movie. But the guy that played Bruce Wayne on the Batman trilogy played the character of the man that got cloned in the movie The Prestige. And just like Michael Caine helped out Bruce Wayne in the Batman trilogy, Michael Caine helps out Christian Bale, same actor, in the movie The Prestige. And guess what? Same director. So what they're telling you is with the same director, the same actors, is it's the same story of Batman. It's the same. So I think we've cleared that up. Now let's go ahead on and get into Batman. First, understand what Skull and Bones is. What is in your camera? All right, here we go. Ready?
Bones, the secret society. You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322.
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look for...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret. Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job.
And you believe in politics. That's what kills me. These people believe in these elections and these politics and like, oh, Trump, he wasn't even supposed to win. See how dramatic they made it? Because you were living and dying through that election. Oh, you just couldn't have Hillary. She's a witch. Pizzagate witch. Folks, they put all that out there. So all the so-called Christians who don't believe in the true Jesus that only loves the sheep, Jesus said, only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. I already told you John 3:16 is a false translation. Don't forget, club member Sir Francis Bacon had the last sign off on the King James Version. So, yeah. God's preserved his word, his truth through his sheep, not through a translated by translated book off the original Greek and Hebrew scriptures. So, we showed you what Skull and Bones is. Well, watch Batman. Bruce Wayne was a member of Skull and Bones, a secret society. Not a member, I'm sorry, his dad or grandfather, dad, founded Skull and Bones. So they're telling you that he is, that Donald Trump's whole world, and, well, yeah. There's one secret society I never mentioned because it's prevalent all around me at the local level, and I'm trying to stay out of getting framed or busted up or worse, and I'm not here to embarrass people I know, but one of them has let's just call it a Scottish path, and the other has a York path. Well, guess what? Trump's mom's born in Scotland, and then Trump was born in New York, and his mom moved to New York. So that whole, when they say founded Skull and Bones, just know that this other secret society that's very prevalent in the world that runs all of your media and sports and Hollywood and all of that. I mean, folks, there's a pyramid on the back of your dollar bill, and there is a pyramid on top of the Israeli Supreme Court, complete with an all-seeing eye. It's the Rothschild bankers that put them there. When the Bible said Israel will be placed back in the land, he's talking about the church, that Jesus will place them back in the land during the millennial reign. The promises made to Abraham in Genesis 12, those are fulfilled through Christ. Read Galatians 3:16 and 3:29. We no longer care or need to care or worry about that land over there. It's called Sodom and Egypt in Revelation 11:8. And I just said there's a pyramid on top, so you already know it's Egypt. And Tel Aviv is as liberal as San Francisco, period. Benjamin Netanyahu, proud of their LGBT situation over there. So stop it. Just stop with the whole Israel thing. It's a trick. I call it the Israel trick. So here's Batman TV show when I was a kid. Skull and Bones. Watch this.
Good idea, this rehearsal. The ladies, such worthy causes. I personally favor Miss Natural Resources. I'd like to make...
Was that enough male chauvinism for you, folks? I'm watching this as a kid. I'm probably like 7 or 8.
Make her my own personal charity. All are worthy. Now you can say that again.
And that is Bruce Wayne's grandfather, Mrs. Cooper?
His great-grandfather.
I understand he was tapped for Skull and Bones.
Tapped for it? Sir, he founded Skull and Bones.
Founded Skull and Bones. Well, what do you know? So, this was the great-grandfather? So, anyway. Folks, I hope we're making sense here. I hope you're following along. I mean, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Our job is to never riot, get out in the streets and protest. None of it. Our job is just to tell the truth to the lost sheep, or to work together with the sheep to help the lost sheep. That's our job. That's it. When the Bible talks about taking care of the poor or the widows or visit people in jail, that's all talking about sheep helping sheep. What people don't understand is the Bible is written by sheep to sheep. That's what the Bible's for. It's known as a guidebook of the supernatural. Ephesians 6:12 tells you that your enemies are not flesh and blood. It's the fallen angels. It's the ghost in the machine. It is Satan that has 99% of mankind handed over to him. When Jesus said, "Ye are of your father the devil," he's talking about every goat born. Not everyone that says to me, "Lord, Lord, haven't we prophesied in your name, done many wonderful works in your name?" And Jesus will say, "I never knew you." Not I knew you for a while until you stop repenting. No, he said, "I never knew you." So make sure you watch my Bible study, please, on 11 parts of election and predestination Word document. Just go to my playlist. Instead of clicking videos when you go to my YouTube channel, click playlist. It's an 11-part playlist. It's called Election, then parentheses, Predestination, close parentheses, and Word document, part 1 through 11. So think about Batman in the movie. Who was helping Bruce Wayne? Who handled that whole computer system? The guy's name was Lucius Fox. And don't forget, Fox equals 666. That's why Fox Television brought you the TV show called Lucifer. And who do they support? Trump, the Antichrist. Yes. So, again, this isn't rocket science. What about the Illuminati card game made in 1994-95? There's Trump right there. Enough is enough. And there's blonde hair of the charismatic leader. Now, that looks more like the back of Pence. Don't forget, Donald Trump and Mike Pence also come to 666 together. So go watch my videos on that. Let me see here. I was going to direct you to. I wonder if I need to put Donald Trump's name equals 666 in my Antichrist series. Probably do. What I want to get into now, let's just go ahead and get into the video. I'll get to that at the end. Let's go ahead and do the video now, the YouTube video.
The story following on from Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight
Rises.
Rises.
Pick up Bruce Wayne 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight.
Now remember, the clone is going to be taken out. Per the movie The Prestige, they show you about the cloning and the science of that. Same character that played Bruce Wayne played the cloned character, or the character that gets cloned. When Bruce Wayne is taken out of the way, and he's going to speak 2 or 3 times about his death, even though he doesn't really die. But symbolically, he dies, and he goes into the abyss, which is straight from Revelation 9. This is why they love 9/11 so much. And that's why the Twin Towers had to go down, and one came back up, and it was called the One World Tower. So we will get to this soon. But in 9:2, and he opened up the pit, the bottomless pit, and arose. So you're going to see Bruce Wayne rise up out of the pit. And that's when the fallen angels will start having free reign on the earth. They'll be able to come into the earth. Because, see, they've been locked away basically since the flood of Noah. And they're going to be back. That's what the flood was for, because if you read Genesis 6, it says there were giants in those days. And then it says these were the days of Noah. Noah was perfect in his generations. Well, it talks about sons of God having sex with daughters of man, which are human women. Sons of God are fallen angels. And it says they took them as wives, creating mighty men, men of renown. That was all where you get your Greek gods and goddesses and Egyptian gods and all that. That's on the TV show Ancient Aliens, and all these great, amazing pyramids and things that were built that man didn't even have the technology to. Well, it's the fallen angels that were doing that, or the hybrids, the giants. And of course, the flood had to come and wipe them out. So then they're in the abyss, tucked away, until Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue had his name Apollyon. That's your Apollo. And of course, Trump has a picture of Apollo in his penthouse. You know, the penthouse that was used in the movie The Devil's Advocate? I sure hope I'm painting a picture for you. I mean, how many dots can I connect for you? So, you know, but the QAnon people that are not lost sheep in QAnon, but the goats, they won't be able to understand what I'm saying. They will stick with QAnon. They'll stick with all that coding. They'll believe that coding, but they won't believe what I'm showing you in plain sight. So, after Bruce Wayne is taken out of the way, okay? After he's taken out of the way, which will be a clone that gets taken out of the way, that's when the chaos begins. And I think when Trump is taken out of the way, that's probably when the forced vaccinations will come, martial law will come, because there'll be riots, because, you know, he was killed, and they're going to pin it on somebody. They might pin it on the Christians and go, oh, the Christians were saying he's the Antichrist, so they wanted to kill him, or, you know, to get at people like myself, or maybe it was China that did it, you know, QAnon will say it was China and some deep state factions in the USA, and we'll declare war on China and you get your World War III. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I know it's going to unfold. We know from Revelation 6 that you do get World War III, And Revelation 6:8, 1/4 of the earth is removed. So that's roughly 2 billion people will die. Now, in this, he's also going to talk about the phoenix rising from the ashes, which is another one of their New World Order symbologies. So he's telling you this whole story of the Antichrist receiving the deadly wound. Watch the torn American flags. Watch that. And, yeah, the torn American flags representing the country fallen, even though it's just in Gotham where the movie takes place. But Gotham is representing the United States. When you see those torn flags and you're going to see tanks in the streets, that's going to represent the martial law. So here it goes.
The reason for that passage of time is we wanted to really look at the consequences of the actions that he and Commissioner Gordon took at the end of The Dark Knight. And for their sacrifice to have meaning, it has to have been successful. And so at least superficially, we're dealing with a Gotham that doesn't need Batman anymore. On the surface of things, looks much better.
I want to stop it from time to time so I don't get a copyright strike and they shut me down. Luckily, this is narrated, so hopefully it won't. But when I took something that was just a YouTube video directly from the Prestige, I played it for 7 minutes, they blocked my video. So when I broke down the Prestige, it was very watered down, but I still hopefully connected the dots for you.
The final installment in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy opens with an image of a Gotham having seemingly and quite literally completed its ascent to the garden.
Ascent to the garden. They talk about the garden also, talking about the Garden of Eden. But a lot of symbology in this little documentary here, this 22-minute. Just listen for it.
That 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, Bruce's mission has apparently succeeded as the legacy of Harvey Dent has eradicated organized crime in the city and has brought about a time of prosperity and peace for its citizens.
So, don't forget, The Dark Knight, cleaning up crime. And what is Trump supposed to do? He's cleaning up the deep state. And Bane is going to represent the deep state rising after Trump is removed out of the way, after Bruce Wayne is removed out of the way. That's why I know Trump's going to be assassinated. You just know it. They're telling you this.
However, a look underneath the surface reveals that this ascent has been built on a...
What is QAnon saying? That down below the city of New York, down below the city of New York, are children. Believe it or not, there's children down in the city from the orphanage of Bruce Wayne's orphanage that are down there. When Bruce Wayne's funding ran out, a lot of the kids, the orphans, once they were 16, they went down and started working for Bane, the deep state, underground.
The brittle foundations of a lie. Instead of having truly come together into communion, Bruce's world is actually living on borrowed time, veering on the edge of total collapse.
This is all going down under the tunnels, under New York, or under Gotham. Just like they say Trump's saving the children, under New York, under Gotham.
And so you've got a Bruce Wayne who has locked himself away in self-imposed isolation in a wing of Wayne Manor. And really our story picks up with the idea of this is a guy who's, as Alfred said, hung up his cape and his cowl, but he hasn't moved on. He's sort of stuck in this moment in time, or this emotional phase of his life.
If Batman Begins dealt with Bruce's insufficiency in the death of his parents, and The Dark Knight confronted his excess of power, in The Dark...
By the way, there's the abyss that he comes out of, Revelation 9:2 and 9:11. See, that's why they call it The Dark Knight Rises. This is the Antichrist beast rising. And Trump is your Antichrist, who received the deadly wound but did live. And I already forgot why I stopped the video. I hate that when Let me see if I can back it up a little bit and let it remind me.
If Batman Begins dealt with Bruce's insufficiency in the death of his parents, and The Dark Knight confronted his...
All of the Batman villains are characteristics of God or sheep. Jesus spoke in parables. That's where you get the Riddler from. Parables, riddles, because they said, Jesus, why does thou speakest thou in parables? He said, for you it is meant to know the mysteries of the kingdom, but for them it is not meant to know. Period. That's Matthew 13, 10, and 11. So Jesus is the Riddler, right off the bat. I've already told y'all in previous ones what my theory is on why there is a Mr. Freeze. I think the abyss is frozen over, which is why Disney has their two movies called Frozen. And Santa is the same letters as Satan. And where's he at? Frozen. He is in the North Pole. Sees you when you're sleeping, sees you when you knows if you've been, has all these omnipotent powers. And what are his colors? Red and black. Just like the satanic Madonna's, all of her concerts now, she's wearing red and black nonstop. So, anyway.
Excess of power. In The Dark Knight Rises, Bruce has to face his lack of belief in the future and his unconscious desire for death. Virtually all of the
his unconscious desire for death. Let's keep going with that.
Surrounding the protagonists exudes a sense of misalignment, of a proximity to collapse. Bruce is shown living in self-imposed exile, frozen in time, his body
frozen in time. What did I just tell you? I mean, these people that did this, they are in the club, and they're revealing this is lesser magic that you're being a part of right now. But if you're of the Holy Spirit, see, you're being wise as serpents, but harmless as doves.
Crippled. His prospect of his reunification of Rachel in the garden has been shattered.
Rachel in the garden.
And Wayne Manor is once again devolving into an unused state as this marker of his closeness to death.
His closeness to death.
Similarly, Wayne Enterprises' revenue stream has long since dried up, and as a direct consequence, the funds for his...
What's dried up? Well, I'm not going to get into that, the economy or anything, but here's the funding for the kids. That's dried up also. And the ones that are 16, remember I told you they go underground.
Orphan children charity, as the manifestation of the potential for new life, have dried up as well.
The foundation is funded by the profits of Wayne Enterprises. There have to be some.
On top of that, we know that Bruce has been living a lie. The lie that Rachel had ultimately chosen him over Harvey Dent.
Alfred, Rachel died knowing that we had decided to be together. That was my life beyond the cave. I can't just move on.
This brittle state of misalignment is similarly reflected in the lives of some of the other protagonists. Commissioner Gordon, as a representative of honesty and true order, has lost his family due to the burden of the lie of Harvey Dent, and as we learn, will soon be fired from his job.
The mayor's gonna dump him in the spring.
This breakdown of cohesion also plays itself out on a physical level when his body is fractured during his investigation of the tunnel system. Another character echoing this state of being is Selina Kyle, or Catwoman.
Okay, I'm just going to pause it a little bit so I don't get a copyright strike.
Selina is shown to be a thief and an all-round opportunist, a type of femme fatale going at life on her own, always looking for her next unsuspecting victim, justifying her actions through the perceived inequality of the world.
I take what I need from those who have more than enough. I don't stand on the shoulders of people with less.
As such, Selina represents a type of femininity gone astray, parasitic rather than nurturing, selfish rather than protecting, completely incapable of establishing her roots. Like Bruce, she's frozen in time as we learn that her ultimate goal is to obtain
frozen in time.
A clean slate device, which would wipe her criminal record and would allow her to start her life anew far away from Gotham City. However, the device seemingly doesn't exist, echoing Bruce's inner belief that there is no road to redemption and thus no hope for a new life.
Remember, that's Lucifer's whole thing. Satan's whole thing is that road to redemption. You know, the bad guy, but really he's the good guy because the people that run this world see him as the good guy. He gave man knowledge in the Garden of Eden that a cruel and vindictive God of the Bible had man trapped in the Garden of Eden. And they believe, a very Gnostic religion, that our God of the Bible actually had a mother named Sophia. And that's the goddess, the creator, Mother Nature, the Queen of Heaven. This is all Queen of Heaven worship. It's all Mother Nature worship. And I show that to you, I think, in parts 1 through 6.
Fresh start in today's world. Any 12-year-old with a cell phone could find out what you did.
But in her destructive role as Bruce's feminine counterpart, she also embodies the exact desire for new life, which is entirely lacking in Bruce. Both characters are on the edge of...
Seems like to me she might represent the female androgynous Lucifer. where he's representing Apollo and Thor. And we're going to get into Thor because, believe it or not, same guy that plays Bruce Wayne in 2022 plays Thor. And we're going to show you that in a little bit. And Thor makes what? He's the god of lightning and all types of different things. We'll show you that. And sure enough, what does the Antichrist beast do? Makes fire flash down from heaven to in the side of man in Revelation 13:13. And what year is Thor coming out? It's probably not even going to be a movie. But what year are they saying Thor is going to be made in 2022, which I think is when all of this will really go down. I think between now and 2022 will be when the 2 billion are lost through World War III.
Collapse, but as we shall see later on, both will have to learn from each other in order to come into communion and save the world.
So they're going to come in together, Lucifer and the Antichrist are going to come in union with each other to save the world. I did not even pick up on that when I watched this a couple hours ago, but wow, that's deep.
City. However, the device seemingly doesn't exist, echoing Bruce's inner belief that there's no road to redemption, and thus no hope for a new life.
There's no fresh start in today's world. Any 12-year-old with a cell phone.
By the way, what is their device for redemption? It's to reach godhood. It's artificial intelligence. It's the ghost in the machine. You can live forever. That's what the mark will be. You're going to upload demons into your body, and you're going to become a superhero. But it won't be sold as demons, even though I showed you that artificial intelligence Ghost in the Machine video, the man actually calls them demons. He just says they don't want to hurt us any more than we would want to hurt an ant, but he refers to them as alien. First he says they're from parallel universes, and then he says they are aliens, then he refers to them as demons. So, when the Police named their album Ghost in the Machine, back in 81, this had already been going on. In the movie The Prestige, they showed you the power of science in the late 1800s through Tesla. So that is when the fallen angels started showing man how to get into this technology science. So this has been going on for 120 plus years. They just are rolling it out to man now at a rapid pace. As fast as you can handle 1G and 2G and 3G that get you thirsty for the next, they roll out the next one. Boom, boom, boom. But this has all been around before they began to roll out even the first generation. They already had the final generation ready.
Find out what you did.
But in her destructive role as Bruce's feminine counterpart, she also embodies the exact desire.
Feminine counterpart, Lucifer, absolutely. See, that's why the Baphomet is the horned goat but has female boobs. It's androgynous. That's why Lady Gaga and from David Bowie in the 70s, 60s and 70s through Lady Gaga now, it's all about androgyny. Male, female, mixing of the two. That's why you had the new movement, the trans movement. That was big, that they were, basically shoving down our throats in the Hollywood and music industry. And the liberal world, that's why they were doing it. And don't think Trump doesn't support LGBT folks. Yeah, during this 2016 election, he was carrying around a sign on stage that said LGBT. So, don't let any of it fool you.
Desire for new life, which is entirely lacking in Bruce. Both characters are on the edge of collapse, but as we shall see later on, both will have to learn from each other in order to come into communion and save the world.
Save the world. That's what Satan's going to be selling. Y'all are basically, the Antichrist will be selling that, look, we've just lost 2 billion people. The whole world, everybody's going to be, all the goats will have quit on their fake Christianity because they never believed in the real Jesus anyway, and they're going to be disillusioned. They will fall away. See, one of their leaders, Albert Pike, told all of this in his book Morals and Dogma. And he said people will be disillusioned with Christianity and with all religion, and they will be thirsting and ready for the new one religion, all the world under Lucifer, and which is Mother Nature, the Mother Goddess, the Queen of Heaven. That's why you got a church on I-4 called Mary, Queen of the Universe. That's what Catholicism's about. So, yeah, this is deep, man.
Role as Bruce's feminine counterpart, she also embodies the exact desire for new life, which is entirely lacking in Bruce. Both characters are on the edge of collapse, but as we shall see later on, both will have to learn from each other in order to come into communion and save the world. The symbolism of Bruce's personal struggle is also reflected on a...
When you want to talk about them coming into communion, you go right back to Revelation 13. When are they in communion? Can you see the whole Bible thing here? Let me slide it back over. When do they come into communion? You exercise power over the another beast coming out of the earth. That's the false prophet. 2 horns like a lamb, spoke like a dragon. He exercised the power of the first beast before him. Do great wonders, make fire flash down from heaven in the sight of man. So you see a thing that dwell on the earth, make an image. Okay, so and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which had power. So the fallen angels will be on the earth, seen as alien entities or something will be going on. I'm not real sure, but it'll be, as Jesus said, a deception so great that if possible, the very elect would be fooled. That's in Matthew 24:24. And which had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live, and had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now this image of the beast will be the ghost in the machine, will be artificial intelligence. And they will work together to save the world. So the newly risen Donald Trump, so it's Christ rising, so he's the Antichrist, and he's come back to life from the deadly wound that did heal, even though it was a clone that was taken out. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause many that would not worship the image of Trump should be killed. So you don't ever worry about the vaccine itself or a tracking device being the mark, because that might come before Trump arrives on the stage, you know, in Israel, declaring himself to be God, standing in the holy place per Daniel 9:27 and Matthew 24:15. But that is what they're talking about here. Lucifer is what she represents, and then saving the world, them coming together. She will represent Lucifer as the image that speaks.
Entirely lacking in Bruce. Both characters are on the edge of collapse, but as we shall see later on, both will have to learn from each other in order to come into communion and save the world. The symbolism of Bruce's personal struggle is also reflected on a societal scale through the state of Gotham City. Rather than having completed its journey towards the unity of the garden, we find out that the city has slowly devolved into...
The unity of the garden. Keep saying that word garden, which all I can think of is Garden of Eden. Just think about this. One of the most highly decorated movies ever was called All About Eve. Interesting name, right? It's all about Eve taking that bite out of the apple, right? Or the fruit. And then there's another great famous movie called East of Eden. Where did they depart out of? East, out of the Garden of Eden. So Hollywood, folks, has always been their world from day one.
Decadence and naive overconfidence, as caused by its adherence to the lie of Harvey Dent.
You and your friends better batten down the hatches, because when it hits, you're all gonna wonder how you ever thought you could live so large and leave so little for the rest of us.
The resulting blindness is showcased in the complete lack of attention that is paid to the rising tension brewing underneath the surface, both societally and the ever-increasing divide between the upper and lower class.
The divide and conquer paradigm, of course, which is all they do with politics, gender, race, and anything they can divide and get their hands on.
Classes, as well as in the literal migration of people going down into the mysterious tunnel system, slowly eroding the foundations holding the city together. Like Bruce, Gotham is merely living on borrowed time, and is heading towards an imminent...
I wonder if that means because all the people that run the world will go down into the tunnels. And they're very elaborate, plush, 5-star hotel type tunnels underground, which is probably where, like I showed you in previous videos, where people like David Bowie, Prince, and all them probably go to. Because a lot of these people don't really die. I can assure you Kobe Bryant didn't die. That was a ritual event. I mean, there were 2 commercials with Kobe in a helicopter, or a commercial and a cartoon that showed Kobe in a helicopter crash. So, again, lesser magic predictive programming.
And in collapse from within. And so, just like in Bruce's own being, the city's ascent back to the garden is but a facade veiling the real struggle.
Again with a garden.
That is brewing inside.
Another is evil rising from where we try to bury it.
The ultimate representation of this misaligned order is shown during the stock exchange heist, during which the police decide not to chase the actual robbers, but instead choose to send all units after the Batman instead. At the same time, however, Bruce's decision to personally intervene in the matter reveals his sense of mistrust and lack of belief in the order of Gotham.
Are the police supposed to be investigating them?
They don't have the tools to analyze it.
Aren't the police? Isn't the government just supposed to handle the government? And he's like, no, I got to take care of the deep state. They don't have the tools for it. I got to do it.
They would if you gave them to them.
One man's tool is another man's weapon.
This sentiment is similarly echoed in Bruce's fusion reactor. Meant to provide the entire city with free, clean, and renewable energy, the project was mothballed by Bruce when his scientists discovered how to convert it into a nuclear bomb.
So there's your clean and renewable energy that comes from what? The fallen angel technology comes from what? Comes from Tesla. Remember, Tesla was said to have had invented clean, renewable energy a century ago. And folks, obviously we could all be eating organic food, no fluoride in our water, no vaccines, no pesticides, no GMOs. We could all be super healthy, but that's not what they want. They don't want us healthy. And it wasn't about making money. It was about keeping the population down as much as they could.
Seemingly incapable of fully realizing his mission, and having been denied his reunification in the garden with Rachel, Bruce is
again with their reunification in the garden with Rachel. All back to the Garden of Eden. Wow, it's very interesting. I gotta pause for a second. I've been drinking too much water. All right, let's wrap this baby up.
Completely stuck in time. And so with that knowledge in mind, all of these images of saturation, of fragility, of living on the edge, of this descent into apathy, are pointing to Bruce's repressed desire for death.
Again, death. You think it's all about him losing his woman. I wonder, interesting.
Afraid that if I go back out there, I'll fail.
I'm afraid that you want to.
This seemingly triumphant re-emergence of the Batman should therefore not be seen as a return to glory, but rather as an indication.
Remember, when he comes back, he's risen from the abyss, from that hole, which they do show you here later on.
Of Bruce's final descent into death.
Let's not stand on.
But first, he must ascend into death, ascending into the bottomless pit. So in other words, when the clone dies, what Trump will be doing in the meantime is the Antichrist spirit will be rising from the abyss. That's why they love 9/11 so much, which is out of Revelation 9:2 and 9/11. And so while the Gotham or the United States or the world goes into chaos because this deep state Bane character, see, that's why they call it the deep state. Actually, it's Mystery Babylon that runs your whole world. China and everybody's, they're all in the same squad. They all take orders from the ghost in the machine, from Satan. Iran, they're all performing the same ritual event, this crowning. Corona means crown. Antichrist receives his crown in Revelation 6:2. Receives his corona.
Ceremony here. Mr. Wayne.
Mr. Trump.
This lack of belief and this repressed sense of fatalism physically manifest themselves in the form of Bane. Like Ra's al Ghul and the Joker, Bane thus represents part of Bruce's psychological shadow.
I think in the case of Ra's al Ghul, and then very much in the case of Bane, they are very, very similar to Bruce Wayne in terms of the discipline, the focus, the commitment to a set of absolute values. And Bane is an absolute.
Those values are Lucifer and Satan's values.
He just knows exactly what it is he's doing. Is completely convinced of the rightness of it in a very fanatical way, which is not unlike Bruce Wayne Batman when he's at his peak in a sense, and he's very committed.
Now, by the way, when he has the suit on, that's the spirit of Antichrist. That's what gives him his superpowers. Remember, he's way more when he's got all that on than when he doesn't. Same with Iron Man. And that's when you upload the Ghost in the Machine, you're going to become a superhero. That's how it's going to be sold. It's going to be sold as man's final evolution. People are going to want to take the mark. I mean, after they're hypnotized by all these... Remember, they're goats. Jesus said, if possible, a deception so great that if possible, the very elect would be fooled. Only God's sheep. And some will be lost sheep and turn all the way at that moment. That's when they'll learn. That's when they'll know. They'll start to turn. But I'm hoping some of y'all turn now. But the Lord knows when each and every one of you lost sheep are going to turn. And if you're a goat listening to this, you're just laughing. You think, oh, this is stupid and silly, and you'll continue on about your business.
By what he's doing. I think the difference with Bruce Wayne is he has people around him who will be a conscience for him, who will question what he's doing. And I think, for me, what I find frightening about Bane is, I think in the real world, that's where true evil comes from. It comes from people who are convinced of the...
Oh, I missed it. I didn't stop it in time. But that was the Tesla technology. That was right there. Rats.
In the real world, that's where...
That's that nuclear bomb that was set to go off. And remember, 2 billion people are going to die. And Trump or Bruce Wayne returns with the Antichrist spirit of Batman, and he saves man from, or Gotham, from total destruction. And so they're putting an end to the wars. They're putting an end to man's devastation, and they have the New World Order plan under Lucifer to save mankind through artificial intelligence. That the only thing that can save us is artificial intelligence. That's what I showed y'all in the Mark of the Beast, or that artificial intelligence is the ghost in the machine, is the mark of the beast, is that he said, what if aliens were coming, how would, and they were going to come here, how would we solve it? And he goes, we wouldn't be able to, but artificial intelligence would. He was like selling us that artificial intelligence can save mankind. And that's what, we detail for you in that 2-hour video. And yeah, anyway, this also represented Tesla's energy, renewable energy, and then they turned it into a bomb, so it kind of was working both angles there.
It comes from people who are convinced of the rightness of what they believe at the expense of all other ethical and moral considerations.
I'm necessary evil.
Bane is an agent of death. In essence, he's an inverted Saint Christopher figure. In his great strength and his daunting...
Is there anything more Catholic than Saint Christopher? Oof. Remember, the saints are nothing more than the gods in the Catholic Church, because that's what they did. They had to meld their gods with Christianity because they couldn't kill Christians fast enough. They just kept multiplying them. Every time they killed one, 10 more would pop up. Power of the Holy Spirit. And Rome was falling, so they melded Christianity with the pagan world because they were surrounded by nothing but, all of those pagans in Europe. And of course, the Romans were pagan too. So that's what all your saints are, because we know in the Bible, the saints are the sheep.
In appearance, he perfectly embodies the image of the monster on the edge of the world. The mask covering his mouth highlighting his animality, his lack of a spirit. But unlike Saint Christopher, who devoted himself to the service of the Lord by carrying the Christ child across chaos, Bane descends into pain, anger, and resentment after helping a young Talia to escape the prison. Whereas Bruce has tried to transform his pain into good, Bane only adheres to the god of death. In his fatalistic nihilism, his only mission as an excommunicated member of the League of Shadows is to destroy and not to rebuild.
Of Gotham's reckoning, at the end the ball of time you've all been living on.
And just like Bruce, Bane's belief in death is driven by his dogmatic devotion to the woman he loves, but who he could never be in union with. And so Bane's secret relation to Miranda Tate, or Talia, becomes the reflection of Bruce's attachment to the grief and his self-destructive tendencies caused by the death of Rachel. On the other hand, Bane also acts as the counter-image to Bruce's lack of belief, fully believing in the purpose of his mission, whereas Bruce has become increasingly disillusioned and demoralized.
Take a look. His speed, his ferocity, his training. I see the power
I just want to stop it for a second so I don't get a copyright strike.
of belief. I see the League of Shadows resurgent.
Bruce's failure to acknowledge this part of his shadow then leads him down a long descent into the gradual fragmentation and death of his identity at the bottom of the pit. First, he's confronted by Alfred with the truth about Rachel in a desperate effort to...
So you get the idea now, he's in the abyss. Once he's taken out of the way, once he's removed from Gotham, once he's removed from the United States, once he's taken out of the way, if his clone is assassinated, per the same character and the same Michael Caine character also. Both of these characters are in the movie The Prestige with the same director, and that character in the movie gets cloned. And it's the clone that dies in the movie. And he lives. So they're telling you the story.
Stop Bruce from what essentially comes down to committing suicide.
Maybe it's time we all stop
Committing suicide. Dying.
trying to outsmart the truth and let it have its day.
This painful confrontation with the truth, however, leads not to enlightenment, but rather to feelings of pain and resentment, as Bruce fires Alfred from his service, effectively ridding himself of his spirit and his conscience.
Goodbye, Alfred.
The failure to stop Bane during the stock exchange heist then causes Bruce to lose all his money and his position as the CEO.
Goodbye, Alfred.
The failure to stop Bane.
By the way, that's the character in The Dark Knight, and he's a little bit in The Dark Knight Rises. His name in the movie is Lucius Fox. Fox is 666, and Lucius stands for Lucifer. When you Google Lucifer Trust United Nations, you get history. Lucius Trust, a publishing company initially named Lucifer Publishing Company, is located in a building overlooking the United Nations. It was actually part of the United Nations. They did a lot of publishing for the United Nations. Lucius Trust, Spiritual Foundation. The Spiritual Foundation, Lucifer. This is what runs your world. Lucius Trust, the United Nations, and Lucifer Worship. United Nations material, devastating indictment of the New Age pagan nature of the UN. Lucius Trust, established in 1922. What's his name in the Dark Knight? Lucius Fox. Lucius Fox. Lucifer 666. Do you remember when they had the new technology? Dark Knight telecommunications. Beautiful, Batman says. He is able, through 5G technology, to do surveillance over all of Gotham. Remember after the Twin Towers and all that went down, how the Patriot Act, they could do surveillance on you, which is all done through artificial intelligence. Ghost in the machine. He says, beautiful. Guess who he gets to run it for him? Lucius Fox, Lucifer 666. Lucifer. Lucifer. Lucius Fox oversees this for Batman Donald Trump. How does he do it? Well, Lucifer does it through the ghost in the machine, because Lucifer, Satan, is in the technology. He is in the supercomputer. He is writing the script for everybody to do. Of course, this is all by the will of God, because God's already written the script for Satan to follow. Remember, it's not flesh and blood enemies you got. It's principalities, it's rulers in high dark places So it's your fallen angels and or Satan that's your enemies. These people are just following. They're handed over to it, just like some people are handed over to QAnon. These people are handed over to belonging to these societies that help rule the world.
Beautiful, unethical, dangerous. You've turned every cell phone in Gotham into a microphone.
And a high-frequency generator receiver.
You took my sonar concept and applied it to every phone in the city. With half the city feeding you sonar, you can image all of Gotham.
I want to stop it for a second so I don't get a copyright strike. Because this is straight from the movie without any narration, so they could get me on this one.
This is wrong.
I've got to find this man, Lucius.
At what cost?
Acting like they care.
The database is now key encrypted. It can only be accessed by one person.
Only one person. Guess who's going to handle it for him? Lucifer.
This is too much power for one person.
That's why I gave it to you.
It's too much power for one person. That's why I gave it to you, Lucifer. You're the ghost in the machine. You're going to handle it. All the surveillance.
Only you can use it.
Spying on 30 million people isn't part of my job description.
Sure it isn't.
This is an audio sample. If he talks within range of any phone in the city, you can...
So anyway, you get the idea.
During the stock exchange heist then causes Bruce to lose all his money and his position as the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. This downward move into chaos is simultaneously reflected by a raging storm and the cutting of the light in Wayne Manor. Bruce's ensuing romance with Miranda Tate therefore becomes not the marker of the potential for reunification, but rather of an indulgence in his trauma caused by the death of Rachel, an embrace of death. And so when he descends down into the center of the
an embrace of death,
or into his unconscious, it is not really to defeat Wayne, but it is rather to die.
To die. Subconsciously, he went down there to die. And what happens to Trump? He's going to be taken out by the Bane, the deep state. And then the Bane, the deep state, is going to take over, even though there is no such thing as a deep state. It's all just Mystery Babylon. They run it all, but this is all going to be staged. It's theater, but that's how it'll present it. See, the Trump QAnon people, they support him, and so when he's removed, they're going to be like, oh my God, there's nobody to protect us from the deep state, when, you know, this was all the plan all along.
To be swallowed up by chaos.
You don't fear death. You
the deadly wound.
Welcome it. Your punishment must be more severe.
With his body broken, Bruce descends even further down.
Now he's descending further down into the abyss, only to rise with the spirit of Antichrist, the deadly wound, but did live.
Down into the pit of a prison at the edge of the world.
The edge of the world? The North Pole? The abyss? Because remember, I showed you in, I think it's 2 Thessalonians 2:11, when one steps out of the way, that's when the abyss is opened up, which is Michael the Archangel protecting it. It will be unfrozen.
Where he's forced to helplessly watch Gotham go up in flames before his ultimate death.
Well, I think in a great, tragic story, and I think Batman ultimately, in a lot of ways, is a tragic story.
I think this is Christopher Nolan narrating this, the director. I mean, the guy talking now, not the guy narrating it overall.
Tragedy is larger if it comes from the tragic flaw within. That's something that has struck a chord with me. It's this idea that if the seeds of your own destruction really are internal, they really are coming from inside yourself.
There's the 9/11 abyss, 9/2, 9/11.
Apollyon
Rising.
Everything, and heightens the sense of tragedy to do with everything.
The fate of Gotham City on its part perfectly reflects Bruce's...
Okay, now after Trump is taken out of the way, after he's removed, watch the chaos. Watch the tanks in the streets. Watch the martial law.
Descent on a societal level.
the
In his
war.
naivety, blindness, and lack of trust in the people of Gotham, the mayor sends the entire police force down into the tunnel system, whilst lying to the public about...
Basically, that might be symbology for the police going underground. I mean, they're no more.
The true gravity of
because in the movie they're trapped underground.
Situation. In the meantime, Bane has gained access to Bruce's arsenal and has converted the fusion reactor into an unstoppable nuclear bomb. And just like Bruce's identity...
When does it all take place? During football season. And we're going to get into that in a little bit, when I think the timing is.
...was fragmented at its core, so too the fragmentation of the city starts during a football match, a place where its identity comes together.
And that's also during election season. It's November 3rd. 3 times 11, 33 is one of their big numbers. And March 11th, which is also 33, is when Trump declared us in a national state of emergency and turned his power over to FEMA.
The singing of the national anthem as the representation of this identity is then inverted by Bane through the sudden collapse of the field and the death of the mayor.
So football is destroyed. By the way, in his box, remember I showed you all the box that they showed you was 322, which is the number for Skull and Bones, which is straight from Genesis 3:22, having to do with the taking the bite, the garden, good and evil. I mean the knowledge.
This breakdown in meaning rapidly spreads throughout the city in a literal collapse of its order, which traps its police force in the tunnels. And like Bruce's confrontation with the truth about Rachel, the people of Gotham are now finally confronted with the truth about Harvey Dent.
Gotham is yours!
Gotham is yours. So now the chaos comes. Remember, their whole world is order out of chaos. They create the chaos and they create the order out of it. And their order is always, like they created those Twin Towers coming down, Tower 1, Tower 2, they just fall right into dust and demolition. You can clearly tell it wasn't, if a beam or two would have melted through, and the smoke was already turning colors to where it showed you the flames were cooling because the smoke had changed to white. And they said the flames couldn't melt beams like that anyway, but let's just say a couple floors did melt through where the planes were. And you just would have saw a few floors collapse. You wouldn't have saw everything just go to dust. But Tower 1, Tower 2, then Tower 7, they all fall at free fall speed, just like a demolition. And what do? You watch the news, you're hypnotized by the news, you believe the news. Just like what's going on now with the crown virus.
None shall interfere. Do as you please.
Do what you want. There'll be total chaos, anarchy.
In response, chaos erupts as everything is turned on its head. Convicts become the new police force, law-abiding citizens are turned into criminals, the intervening army become the guards of the city's new...
There you go. What are they telling you is coming when Bruce Wayne, Donald Trump, is removed, who receives a deadly wound, but did live? A deadly wound by the sword.
New order, and a new justice system headed by Scarecrow works on the assumption of predetermined guilt. To top all of that off, the city's new hierarchy is based not on a true covenant between its people, but rather on the oppressing fear of death. And just as in Bruce's prison,
it's kind of like a lot of those Mad Max movies where they did a lot of predictive programming.
Their vision for new life is based on a false hope. Inevitable death is the only way forward, a death aptly marked by the onset of an icy winter.
We were looking really...
If Trump is taking out this football season and the electricity and everything goes out, there'll be a lot of people that'll die just up north. Because they control the weather, so you're going to have the coldest winter ever, and it's just going to kill so many people that live up north. Canada, northern half the United States. I mean, oof.
For a way of approaching an inversion of society, a complete shattering of the structures of society, there are all kinds of visual devices that get across an incredible sense of the atmosphere of a city that has become completely...
Remember, this city is representing all of the United States. You will see the flags torn here soon.
Changed in its structures. We really tried to echo some of those things in this film, particularly with the empty streets and then very crowded interiors.
And so once again Bruce has fallen, confronted with his nakedness in the face of death. And it's here at his lowest place that he's finally faced with his lack of belief and his suicidal fatalism as Ra's al Ghul reappears into his life one last time.
Ah, spirit, the ghost down in the pit comes to him.
Now you understand. Gotham is beyond saving. You must be allowed to die.
Unwilling to give in without a fight, Bruce slowly regains his drive and sets out to rebuild his body to try and rise out of his prison. Slowly but surely, however, the realization dawns on him that it is not his outer physical strength that will lift him out of the pit, nor his drive to save the people.
It'll be the spirit of Antichrist. It'll be Satan's spirit that will lift him out of the pit. Because that's what it is. It's the beast rising. That's why they love 9/11. Love it.
People of Gotham. Rather, it is an interchange
Revelation
in the
9/11.
form of a reinvigorated belief in life that will set him free.
If you fear death, then make the climb.
He has to willingly let go of his self
Without the rope
shackles,
this time.
of his lack of fervor for life, and take a leap of faith.
Why do we fall?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things
Remember,
about Bruce Wayne,
when he puts on that, that's when he's under the spirit.
Batman, is you're looking at a guy who, particularly as Christian Bale has portrayed it, I find it a very moving struggle. It's a guy who has suffered this terrible trauma as a child, and he's filled with negative things. He's filled with anger and rage, a desire for revenge. But he has this very moving struggle to try and do something positive with that, to try and make something good from that.
Having
There
finally
he is.
escaped
He's out of the pit.
this prison, Bruce embarks on a long and final ascent up the mountain back towards the center. First off, he returns to Gotham, during which he notably grants Selina her coveted clean slate device, aptly marking Bruce's own
Giving her the technology.
reinvigorated belief in the potential for new life. This rising out of death is simultaneously reflected in Bruce's tricking of death, both in deceiving Bane into thinking he had accepted his fate, as well as by purpose.
He just said tricking death. The Antichrist receives a deadly wound, but did live. Even though it'll be a clone.
Purposely turning himself in order to get to Lucius Fox. Mirroring this ascent on a societal level, the trapped police are preparing to break out of their own respective prison. Both of these moves then converge and culminate into the ultimate image of the transformation of life out of death in the return of the Batman during Gordon's death through exile. Batman's symbol of darkness, animality, and death is literally lifted up and transformed into a crown of glory, into the image of a
crown of glory. He's receiving his crown right now, isn't he?
Phoenix rising from the ashes.
Oh, did they say the Phoenix rising from the ashes? I mean, is that not our favorite? The goddess Phoenix rising from the ashes. And when I showed y'all in the other one, the Falcon mascot at the new Atlanta Stadium, don't look nothing like no Falcon. It looks just like the Phoenix. That's why you got a city named Phoenix. And a lot of them have the Phoenix as the goddess. So, you get the idea. And I've proven to y'all, you know, Trump's got the upside down pyramid, 6x6x6 bushes on Trump Tower. And because it's all about the goddess. The upside down pyramid stands for what? Feminine divinity, the mother goddess, so on and so forth.
This rebirth occurs both physically as the police
a rebirth
finally rise out of their graves, as well as psychologically as the spirit of hope in the people of Gotham is reinvigorated by the return of the Batman.
To me, the absurdity and admirable.
So when Trump comes back from the deadly wound that did heal, who could make war with him?
Absurdity of one man attempting to transform an entire society is
one man to transform an entire society, and in this case, an entire world.
fascinating to watch. For me, we spent a lot of time showing the symbolism, or the idea of the symbolism, almost political symbolism of the bat, and what the reason.
Political symbolism of the bat. Why do you think they put a bat on a coin, folks? What are they telling you? It's the Antichrist time. It's Trump's time. Slowly but surely.
That Bruce Wayne adopts a symbolic persona. What it needed to be is that he felt by creating a symbol of the good.
When this first coronavirus came out, didn't they say it came from a bat? Sure did.
Good standing against.
I went to the CDC website, and it had bat listed with other things that it could have came from.
Corruption, standing against the negative elements in Gotham that have brought it down. He would inspire a shift in society, that he would be the sort of the tipping point, the straw that broke the camel's back and change things for the better, really.
That's what Trump's all about. I'm going to change things for the better. I'm going to fix the deep state when there is no deep. It's Mystery Babylon. They run the whole world, and it's all for him. Hollywood pretends to hate him to get his base to dig in deeper. I asked a Florida State fan, I said, when did you become a Florida State fan? They go, when I went to school there. And I said, no, it was when a Gator fan told you sucked. That's when you became a fanatic. That's when it became emotional. And that's what people do. They get emotional over politics. Hatred. Anger. Why do you think Hillary called people deplorables? Trump fans deplorables. It's folks, these fallen angels write the script. They know how to get at humans. They play you like violins.
And so the stage is set for one final battle, one final confrontation with Bruce's shadow that will come to determine both his own future as well as that of Gotham City. On a societal level, this struggle for Bruce's
there's the flags. What's that telling you? America's fallen.
Identity is mirrored in the mass clash between the police and Bane's army in the city's center. But the ultimate battle, of course, revolves around the possession of the fusion reactor turned into a rapidly degrading nuclear bomb. The fate of the fusion reactor can be seen as the ultimate physical representation of Bruce's trauma. The question that arises is whether he will be able to transcend the tragedy of his life and transform it into a good, or rather he will finally be fully consumed by it and descend into death. With his reinvigorated belief, Bruce manages to overpower Bane, but is subsequently confronted with the betrayal of Miranda, who reveals herself to be Talia, Ra's al Ghul's daughter. Her resentful, fatalistic words echoing Bruce's inner state and his seeming inability to let go of his feelings of guilt over the death of Rachel.
It's the slow knife, a knife that takes its time, that waits years without forgetting, then slips quietly between the bones. That's the knife that cuts deepest.
However, in having granted himself the potential for new life, Bruce is appropriately saved by Catwoman, his true feminine counterpart, who...
So, his true feminine counterpart, the androgyny of Satan, the male fallen angel, and Lucifer, the female goddess. Lucifer is Venus. It's all the goddesses. They all represent Lucifer in different cultures, in different ways. Just like all the different secret societies are all actually working for the same cause. They just come at it in different ways, so people don't understand that it's all one Mystery Babylon.
Who has made her own ascent by letting go of her selfish opportunism and saving Bruce and Gotham from annihilation. With Bane defeated and his army falling apart, the protagonists scramble as they try to stop the bomb from destroying the city. But in order to truly transcend his...
And always remember, the city of Gotham represents the world. Sometimes United States, sometimes the world. So...
trauma, Bruce has to fully die to himself.
Which is exactly what Christians do. It's a death to self. It's the daily cross. That's what you do. You die to self daily. At your blood baptism. And see, they're mirroring it to the Antichrist world.
And so the death of Talia becomes the image of a final letting go of his self-destructive grief over the death of Rachel. This dying to oneself is then shown not through a descent into darkness, but through a lifting up of his trauma, through a rising out of fire into a final ascent towards a new dawn, transforming death into life in an ultimate act of self-sacrifice.
Death to life, self-sacrifice, deadly wound, did heal.
I believe that people are ready for a more ambiguous type of triumphalism, a more ambiguous type of heroics, and I think that Batman has always offered that. And even in his most sort of goofy incarnations in the TV series or whatever, the elemental nature of the character has always spoken through the different interpretations that he's withstood over the years, including those of the comics, because he's been interpreted and reinterpreted by a massive, number of great artists and writers and all the rest. There's something fascinating and complex about Batman, and ambiguous. He's darkness and light in an uneasy alliance.
He's darkness and light. Woo, that's why the black and white checkerboard flooring is part of their symbolism. You watch music videos, there's nothing but black and white checkered floors all over the place. I see black and white checkered floors in countless movies. Countless movies. Be looking for it from now on, in this limited time we have left.
It's an uneasy balance. There's a great tension there. And I think in today's world, I think they're more readily accepting of that.
By the way, that's what your Star Wars is about, the light and the dark, bringing it together. The Force. They're like, the Force is there, it just could be used for good or evil, which of course is satanic.
Kind of complex heroism than something that's too simple, too straightforward, and unrealistically reassuring. In the case of Batman and this story, it's a question of finding the positivity of it. It's a question of saying, here is a character, like the protagonist of my other films, I think, who is driven by extraordinarily negative things. But what makes him a heroic figure, and it's something we have to constantly bear in mind, is the fact that he's able to channel these negative impulses into something positive, into something altruistic, something relating to helping other people, rather than just the notion of personal vengeance.
Bruce's act of self-sacrifice not only saves Gotham City from annihilation, by becoming a symbol, he also inspires its people to complete their ascent up.
I'm sorry. Are those devil horns? I'm reaching. I know. It's crazy, right?
The mountain. And so just as Bruce has risen, so too the city rises out of the ashes and moves into communion.
Again with the phoenix rising from the ashes wording.
Bruce's death, of course, is not ultimate, nor is it self-punitive in nature. It is rather the image of a transcendent rebirth, of an integration and a coming together in the final reunification of the masculine and...
Ooh, did they say masculine and feminine? Did I just cut him off from that? Where are we at? 2059. Let's get it back to it. Okay.
Nor is it self-punitive in nature. It is rather the image of a transcendent rebirth, of an integration and a coming together in the final reunification of the masculine and the feminine in the garden.
Masculine and the feminine in the garden. Oh, wow.
In the final analysis, the story of Bruce Wayne in Nolan's trilogy is the story of a fallen man confronting his inner demons,
fallen angel, inner demons,
and transforming them into vehicles of good. It's the story of an ascent up a mountain, of a rising out of chaos and a transcending of
order out of chaos. That's their motto.
Tragedy, of a man facing death and choosing life. If you enjoy our...
Folks, you know I'm crazy, right? I'm just nuts. Yeah. Well, to the goats, let me be nuts. To the lost sheep, use me as a resource. The Lord has pulled me out of astrology, out of Catholicism, out of fornication, all of it. And so just ask me questions. And I'm here for you. And share this video, please. Thank you. Love you.